Greystone Hollow, quiet, unremarkable, just under 6,000 residents, one main street, a diner that still serves pie by the slice, the kind of town where people vanish from memory. But between 2001 and 2019, 3 people vanished for real. No clues, no connections, except one. A painting locals whisper about, the burning eyes. Some say it's cursed, others say it's just paint on canvas. But then again, coincidences don't usually leave bodies missing. So what is this painting really? An object of evil? A magnet for madness? Or a mask for something much darker? Whatever it is, it begins as most small-town mysteries do, with a whisper no one wants to repeat. Clara Wells was the kind of person you'd barely notice in a crowd. Quiet, dependable, and never one to chase attention. At 42, she worked as a librarian in Greystone Hollow and lived alone in a modest brick home near the town's edge. In late 2001, Clara attended a small charity auction held in the local church basement. Amid mismatched furniture and old books, one item stood out, a painting. It was unsigned. The face on the canvas was warped and unclear, like it was trying to form itself but never quite did. What caught everyone's attention, though, were the eyes. Deep red, slightly glowing, like embers refusing to die out. Clara bought it only for $12. No one else bid. 2 weeks later, she stopped showing up to work. At first, co-workers assumed she was ill, but after several days with no response to calls or knocks, police conducted a welfare check. Her front door was locked from the inside. No signs of a break-in, no blood, no disturbance. Everything in place except for one detail, the painting. It was no longer hanging on the wall. Officers found it in her hallway closet. It was flipped upside down, shoved to the back, its face pressed against the wood as if someone, or something, didn't want it to see. Clara was never found. Her case remains open to this day, but the town quickly built its own conclusion. She'd been claimed by the eyes, and that was only the beginning. But who painted this disturbing portrait in the first place? And why did it seem to carry a presence of its own? That answer traces back to a forgotten name. The origins of the painting were murky, but after months of investigation, it was eventually linked to one man, Elias Crowe. There were no birth records, no family or any info about formal schooling. What existed was a single psychiatric file, heavily redacted and sealed by court order. Crowe had spent years in and out of mental health institutions in the late 80s and early 90s. One nurse from the Greystone Psychiatric Center remembered him clearly. She said he was soft-spoken, but deeply disturbed. He never socialized, rarely ate, and painted constantly. But what chilled her wasn't his behavior. It was what he said about his work. He told me the face kept asking to be painted, she recalled. Said it wanted out. His room was eventually cleared after he was transferred and never heard from again. But a few of his pieces ended up at estate auctions, thrift shops, and eventually, one into Clara's hands. It made people wonder, was Elias painting what he saw in his dreams, or what he couldn't escape from? But the painting didn't stop with Clara. Years later, it would resurface again and claim a second connection. In 2008, the painting reappeared, this time in a dusty corner of a vintage shop 2 towns over. It was bought by Lyle, a 29-year-old copywriter moving into his first solo apartment. He wasn't a superstitious man, just thought it looked creepy cool, according to friends. But less than a week after bringing it home, he texted his sister late one night, "That painting's freaking me out. I keep dreaming of a hallway with no end." Security footage shows Marcus entering his building at 8:46 p.m. on a Friday. He was never seen again. There's no footage of him leaving, no forced entry or calls or any clues. When police checked his unit, it was spotless. But the painting? Gone. And by the time the third disappearance happened, the mystery would draw in someone who wasn't a victim, but a hunter of the truth. By 2019, the town of Greystone Hollow had mostly moved on, at least on the surface. But the disappearances had never been forgotten, and one woman wasn't willing to let the trail go cold. Dana Carr, an independent journalist and true crime blogger, began digging. She connected the dots. Clara Wells in 2001, Marcus Lyle in 2008, a disturbing painting that seemed to travel from owner to owner. Her podcast episode, titled The Art That Eats People, aired in October 2019. It drew moderate attention and one very unexpected response. 2 weeks after it dropped, Dana received a package. No name, no return address, just bubble wrap, and inside it, the burning eyes. Dana uploaded one final video to her blog. She looked pale, her voice shaken. "It's back," she whispered. "I don't know who sent it, but it's real. I swear the colors have changed. The eyes look newer, sharper." That was the last time anyone saw her. 4 days later, Dana was reported missing. Her apartment was untouched. Her laptop was still open. And in her bedroom, the painting hung neatly on the wall. Beside it, a single sticky note. "The eyes are just paint, but someone's watching me." Another disappearance, another silence. But this time, the trail wouldn't stay buried. 2 years later, someone outside Greystone Hollow would finally see what others missed. In 2021, retired detective Rowan Hart came across the case during a cold case review project. Unlike others before him, Hart didn't focus on the victims or the painting. He asked a different question. What if the constant wasn't the art, but the person moving it? Hart started cross-referencing transactions. He pulled property sales, business licenses, shipping records, and what he uncovered turned suspicion into clarity. The man who auctioned the painting to Clara Wells in 2001, the antique dealer who sold it to Marcus in 2008, and the mysterious sender who mailed it to Dana Carr. They were all the same man. He went by different names, used different IDs, but Hart tracked him down to a former life. Gavin Holt, a drifter with no known family. And chillingly, Gavin once worked as a psychiatric orderly at the very same institution where Elias Crowe had lived and painted. But what was Holt's connection to the painting, and how deep did his obsession run? Investigators believe the truth is darker and far more human than any legend. After Crowe's death, Gavin Holt stole the painting from the hospital storage. Something about it, its creation, its story, consumed him. He convinced himself it had power, that it could choose people. But it wasn't the painting making the choices. It was Holt. He deliberately placed the painting with new owners, then stalked them, learned their routines, exploited their fears, and one by one he made them vanish. Holt was finally arrested in 2022 under a false identity in Nevada. In custody, he admitted to 2 of the disappearances, Clara and Marcus. But when asked about Dana Carr, he only smiled. "I didn't kill them," he said. "I just introduced them to the eyes." The truth was out, but the painting wasn't finished yet. In the end, the real curse wasn't in the canvas. It was the man behind it, Gavin Holt, a predator who used myth, fear, and obsession to cloak his crimes in mystery. But the truth, uncovered by a retired detective nearly 2 decades later, was far more human. But still, not everything adds up. The lab couldn't trace the pigments in the painting. Somehow the materials didn't match any known source. And the eyes, those burning, coal red eyes, have been described the same way by each person who came in contact with it. The final words from those who vanished, Dana's sticky note, Marcus's dream text, still send chills to the bone. And then there's Elias Crowe, the tormented artist who claimed the face asked to be painted. His final sketchbook, rumored to hold other faces from his dreams, it's never been found. So was the Burning Eyes painting merely a vessel used by a killer to manipulate and terrify? Or is there truly something deeper, something staring back from within the frame? You decide. Was Gavin Holt the sole monster in this story? Or did he unleash something older, something that stares back? Let us know your theory in the comments below. And if you enjoy mysteries that bend reality and dance with the dark, subscribe for more true crime stories that make you question what's real and what wants to be believed. Until next time, this is Mind Unfolded.